Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 52, presented by 5 Pin Universe. I'm your host, Karie Kreutz. We have the usuals are back, both Wiseman twins, Dexter and Tim, Adam Weber, and our special guest for number 52, 52 weeks, a whole year of podcasts, Greg Gigliuk.
Awesome.
The master, the legend. He has 39 appearances at Nationals and walks away with 9 golds. Pretty extraordinary. As everybody probably knows, Greg is one of the few players that holds an average above 200 with both hands. Throws 215 average left-handed, Greg, I do believe you were saying?
Yes, it is.
Uh, Unreal. I don't think anybody has anything compared to that. Pretty cool.
Probably could 10 pin too.
No, 160.
Have you tried with your left hand, though?
Yeah.
I honestly believe that anyone that's been bowling for any length of time would be able to bowl left-handed because we know so much about the game and what it's supposed to feel like. We would pick it up a lot faster than someone just taking up the game for the first time. So I think anyone that with any really good knowledge of the game and semi-coordinated would be able to do that as well. I really do.
So, Greg, you know most bowlers were not really coordinated to begin with, so
Yep.
we're not all Spartan racers and athletes.
I think you got to be pretty coordinated to bowl at the level you guys all bowl. Absolutely. Or is it all mind? Is it you guys just that strong in the mind?
God, no. There's a reason Tim drinks.
Well, it's clearly not our bodies.
Yeah.
It's got to be the mind.
There you go.
So we'll pick up with our first topic, presented by the smartest man on the podcast, right, Tim?
Well, as of last week, yes, I do agree with you. I guess we can start off with the big elephant in the room, coronavirus. Some of you guys have noticed, as of before we got on podcast, the NBA has suspended operations for now after Rudy Gobert got diagnosed with it. Now, I guess the question is to you guys. I know I've had a couple people already message me. Is the Open going on, provincials? Is the C5 U Challenge or the U Championship Bowl Canada Nationals are going on? What's your guys' thoughts? I'll speak personally. I know this is something that everybody's all worried about. Obviously, it's a kind of a pandemic, and I don't blame people worried about, especially their children's and whatnot. But I feel like the government should come down and tell us whether or not we should be able to host something. Obviously, you see some changes where I think stadiums are going less people in it, as we talked beforehand, or less people in a room. 250, I think, or 1,000 people they've cut down to some places. I don't think our bowling championships have 250 people in there, to be honest with you, especially only 110 people participating in the Open Provincials. I don't see this being a problem just yet. I think we keep going as it is. But I think social media does have mass hysteria to it. And you look at it, toilet paper is going right through the roof. Something so silly, it doesn't even help you guys out. But I guess what is your thoughts? If you were in somebody's shoes who had power to have to suspend something, what would you guys do?
I agree. I think at this point, the government and the bodies obviously have to be aware and have preventative measures in place in case something does happen. But as of right now, I think people just need to be cautious and keep moving forward. In Alberta, we have 7 cases in Alberta, which is out of how many 4 million people in Alberta. It's super rare at the moment. We are definitely not a hotbed for one of the for the virus at the moment. And exactly right. We had lots of questions today about our YBC Nationals and whether it's going to be going. And obviously it's a little bit early to tell. That's 2 months away, and this pandemic could be done by then, or it could be blown up by then. We're our seniors are going to be in paradise, and You have 8 teams of girls and 8 teams of boys and a coach for each. So you're looking at a total of 48 competitors in the building, and then a parent for each one of the kids. So, I mean, you're going to have 100 people in that building. It's not like one of the concerts or something where you're going to have 20,000 people, or, Coachella where you're going to have 100,000 people. I don't see a need to prevent these events from happening yet. But definitely if you're sick, do your due diligence. And if you think there's a chance that you might have it, go and get the test kit and, get tested. But until then, I don't think there's a point in Canada yet to start panicking.
Yeah,
I think overall,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think overall is like I guess tournament organizers. It is a discussion that you will end up having, or at least should have, because there may be the need to be proactive and possibly either postpone or cancel events. But I agree with you guys. I still think it's way too early, especially in this particular province. But for a national event where now all of a sudden now you have a lot of travel from all over the country, that might be a little bit different. I know a lot of the flights at WestJet are coming in, pretty much bare after, speaking with a family member here. So there's definitely widespread panic as you'd almost expect with media. But I think as organizations of these tournaments, I don't think you can wait for the government just to say, okay, shut it down. I don't think it's going to come through those channels. So I think it's a case by case basis, and just kind of do the right thing.
Yeah, I think into that same idea is that basically we just need to be proactive while we're there. Making sure that we're not, if someone is sick, or we're keeping our hands, same as we do with the flu or anything else, washing your hands lots. If it means that we're not slapping hands and doing that, anything that we can do to prevent, any spread, if there is any spread, we treat it basically the same as we do right now with the flu and that type of thing. At flu season, you got to be proactive yourself. And I mean, God forbid if someone really felt bad, I sure hope they don't go to a national championship and take a chance of spreading it to somebody else, that they're going to pull themselves out, or that they're just going to, say, hey, this doesn't make sense to do this.
So I guess I'll expand on it a little bit. So what could the bowling center that's hosting these nationals, or the multiple bowling centers that are holding these nationals or even provincial events, do you think it's necessary, because we know it doesn't happen, that they go ahead and they clean the house balls, they do their due diligence to make sure their surface areas are clean and taken care of? Because just to go along that fact, down in Seattle there's school closures, but they're only closing for 24 to 48 hours so they can get cleaned, right? Properly cleaned. Cleaning services come in, they disinfect everything, and then the school opens back up and the kids come back in. So it's not like even communities aren't shutting down for quarantine periods, right? So to cancel a national or a provincial event, I don't think is a necessary step. I think we just got to be, like you said, proactive and be prepared, clean, disinfect, and make sure the kids are aware, or even the adults are aware, that maybe we suspend, I hate to say it, high-fiving and stuff like that just for this time period.
I think and for the adult portion, I think we're all adults. I think we have to understand, if you don't feel like maybe the right way, if you don't feel comfortable with things, there's maybe, if it's still going on, maybe just find somebody else to go with you. Unfortunately, I think I know our Special Olympics, they did not allow high fives last night. They didn't allow anything like that, and I get that. But I think at the Open, I don't know. I think if you're being careful and you follow, wash your hands and do all that kind of stuff, I think we're all adults. We can decide on how that wants to go. But it's just kind of crazy how things kind of just go absolutely chaotic on this stuff. And I don't know. I'm still I know Karie made a post earlier on Facebook about this, and I feel sort of the same way. But you still have to be careful on things. I think we have to be aware of it. I've read a lot of stuff now, whether it's completely factual or not, because some places, the media does have some stuff, but government agencies and stuff like that, and like the success rates are there. It's not overly bad. The common cold does the same kind of thing, maybe with a little bit more severity to it. But we said, just pay attention, right? I don't think it's necessarily to cancel anything just yet. I don't think that's the way to go. The sky isn't falling, so.
My worry on like the tournament side of it though is you're gonna have for first time national representatives or people who maybe it's maybe the last kick of the Canada Nationals where it's almost no different than kind of hiding or battling through an injury and still making that trip, right? Because they may not get that other chance. So that would be my biggest worry, that all of a sudden now you've got somebody coming in that maybe they're not showing full symptoms, but they might be suspecting, and there might be people that get there that are completely unsuspecting, but they already have it, right?
Well, so there's like a 3 or 4 day incubating period or something like that where you have no symptoms. I'm almost less worried about the Open as I would be for Masters per se. A, Masters has way more people, and B, Masters has the seniors division, and that's really the ones that really get affected. And I mean, a lot of those seniors are in really great health, and then some of those seniors are not. I mean, we've had seniors there, wheeling their oxygen tanks up to the line and throwing it and coming back, and it's definitely those people that I would be worried about for sure. But you're right with that incubation period. I mean, we could have our provincials and nobody, well, somebody may have it and nobody may know.
And I think that's why, all these organizations are taking that proactive step, just the just in case, right? The, I don't know what it would be, kind of the social, I don't know exactly what it would be, but, taking that proactive step and, making sure that they're saving any potential face, because all of a sudden they don't take that step, and now somebody gets, God forbid, dies, at a stadium or something like that, and it's just not worth the PR nightmare or anything as well. So
they're just showing their due diligence. They're showing that they're
correct.
Doing what
yeah.
Yeah, and I totally agree, but I also still think at this point, I mean, we basically have one person in every million people that has it in Canada. The risk level is really low still at this point. But again, it may not be in 2 months.
Yeah, like I guess kind of the projection is 6 to 9 months where this hits its maximum infection, right? So it unfortunately, I don't think postponing stuff right now is going to stop what's going to happen in 6 to 9 months. It might slow it down for a little bit for those select people that are going to that event, but it's not going to slow unless you suspended all sporting events, all gatherings, all that stuff. That's the only way you're going to really prevent a situation like this. So for us with a 100-player field to say, you know what, we're going to suspend it, but the Oilers are holding a $35,000 attendance. Did we really do anything? There's no.
I mean, we can walk into Superstore and there's 300 people there at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Are they going to stop selling groceries?
I went to the hockey game, and we always say you got to wash your hands. I think 75% of those guys were having a beer and they couldn't wash their hands after they were leaving. So I'm saying, like, as much as you want to prevent it in those things, it's going to be what it is, unfortunately. Yeah.
I think that the associations and the bowling centers just need to do their due diligence, be a little bit proactive, make sure their cleanliness is up, and I think the event should go on as is. I don't see what they're going to do is going to stop anything. So, but
yeah.
That's the positions those associations have, and those bowling centers have to make the call for themselves too, right? So
yeah. So what do you think about Red Deer? Is Red Deer going to be a go, Karie?
100%.
Yeah, there we go. That a boy. That a boy. You know what? We have a chance to win when there are only 50 in their field, right? So let's make it work.
Tim, we'll just take all the house balls off the rack, and then everybody just has to have their own bowling balls. So,
But I love the house balls.
tough luck. I don't want you to catch the coronavirus.
I'll get 2. I'll buy 2 off of Shelby and engrave them.
There you go.
Can we weigh them?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Can we weigh house balls, Tim?
Do what you want.
All right.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the World Series of Bowling is going on right now in Vegas for 10-pin bowling. So this event was created roughly 10 years ago to help minimize traveling expenses for professional bowlers. So they created an event where there's 5 tournaments essentially in the same building. They change oil patterns to create the different types of tournaments, like the Scorpion, the Chameleon, and stuff like that. And then so you play all those tournaments, and then you tally up all your pinfall for those tournaments, and then it goes towards the World Championship, they call it. And then they do a final event of that week for the World Championship. Do you think something like that could work in, let's say, an Edmonton scene? You do the Edmonton Bowling Series for a week. You do a tournament in Sherwood Bowl. You do a tournament at Bronx. You do a tournament at St. Albert. And then you add up all your pinfall at those tournaments. And then you do your top 48 cut and do a tournament at Bonnie Doon. Do you think something like that would be viable? It would cut down on traveling expenses. Bowlers from across Canada only have to go to one place for 1 week. They don't have to make 5 trips for the tour or a system like that. Do you
then you move it around?
Yeah, like you do it in Edmonton one year, the next year you do it in Winnipeg, next year you do it in the Toronto, Oshawa area. I don't know.
I think it's definitely possible. You would have to save up a boatload of money for that week. I mean, that's still not a cheap week, especially if you're doing like the $200 entries.
Airbnb is a thing, right?
Yeah, no, but still, I mean, you could be putting out, $1,600 in entries in a week. But
you could. It depends how it's structured, right?
But if you're saving on the travel costs, then that helps balance it out. But yeah, I could definitely see that being a thing, for sure. I don't know if you would get 150 to 200 people from across the country to do that for a full week at an entry
for sure.
At a price point for that, but it'd be fun.
You can almost do something similar, like the World Series of Poker as well, where you just have all these different events. You don't necessarily have to play them all, right? But at the end of the year, you will have a Player of the Year type thing at those events, and I like the concept. You kind of pick and choose what you would like to actually play. I don't think a week would be enough time to run all the different events and still have the players out there fresh, because you still want guys fresh for all the events, right? So you're gonna have to stagger some of them, I think. But and with like a main event or something like that, have a high rollers championship, and yeah, I could see something working.
Well, so I guess what do you mean by fresh? So I'll just use the World Series of Bowling as a reference point. So these bowlers, they bowl 10 games each day. And then they bowl, so if they make the cut, so let's say it starts on a Monday. They bowl 10 games, they take the top 16 players, make a cut there. They bowl the next day, another 10 games, they make a cut there. They bowl the very next day, another 10 games, you make a 16 cut there as well. And then the top 40 players, total pinfall after those 3 qualifying shifts, make a 40 cut for the World Championship. And then they do another 10 games for that cut that down to 16 as well. And then they have, the very next day, they have the first patterns, 15 game match play. And then the next day they do another 15 game match play. Next day they do another 15 game match play. Same thing. So these bowlers, some of them have made all the cuts. They're going to be playing 140 games in a week. So by fresh, what do you mean? Like
That's exactly what I mean. But those guys are also professionals that are playing every week on another tour, and this is literally their job, right? So we don't have that opportunity. So we're nowhere near as fresh near the end of something like that. Yeah, no problem with a couple 8-game sets or 15-game tournaments or something in a day. But if you don't have that day break, right, you're not going to be fresh if you're going to have to go do it again the next day and then the next day and the next day, right?
I think if there's 10,000 up for it, you will be.
Greg would be.
I think you're right, Adam. At this point in time, the way we're trained or the way we're running tournaments, yeah, we wouldn't be fresh. But if you knew this event was coming up, would you not be prepared to be able to play all those cuts? I think you would.
I think right format.
Yeah, and I think if you're only playing 10 games a day, like, there's lots of times where we'll play an 8-game shift and then not qualify, we'll play another 8-game shift. I think if you go in knowing you're playing 10 games in a day, 10 games in a day doesn't feel all that bad anymore, especially if we have the space to spread it out a little.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And it's all in, and unfortunately for 5-pin, it's not like you can change the oil pattern, so you can't always do it in the same building because it would be, essentially, if those players are playing well, they would always be playing well at the same center. So you would have to do it to different centers. So your approaches would change. So you may run into people with sore hips because they're at a heavy center one day and then they're at a slick center the next day. But I think that would add a lot to an event like that, knowing we're going to go play Sherwood Bowl this day, then we're going to go play Bronx, we're going to go play a tough center the next day, and then you have the big one at Bonnie Doon, the Pie House, and you get to see total pinfall keep rolling. I think it would be kind of neat to see the climbs that people will make, right? I don't know.
So question for you though, when you watch these, oil pattern, obviously it's a different, I think 10-pin, 5-pin, you can see it's a little bit different game where oil patterns are there at different days and different conditions. 5-pin, you just not really much of an oil pattern difference unless it was something that was bone dry. And the big thing is probably the approaches.
Yeah.
The difference.
Or the pinfall, like you guys have black bases at 18 inches. Bonnie Doon has black bases at 17 inches. St. Albert has whatever, right? Like there's differences there.
Some black bases, some white bases, but at 17 inches.
But my reasoning is like I think 10-pinners can. Maybe I'm throwing the 5-pinners out to lunch, but 10-pinners, there's certain players that play better in certain patterns. And I guess you can see the same kind of argument maybe for 5-pin, but the variance is not as much there as it is in 10-pin, in my personal opinion.
I don't know.
I think
we
so.
don't know.
I think so. I think you four on the podcast could play in any house out there, where certain people, like you saw, like I shared Larson throwing gutter balls, 4 gutter balls in one game because he has to play a 3-board, right, or 2-board.
Thomas Larson, because they're throwing it out to the 2-board. Yep.
Right, and I think I don't think we have that. I was actually kind of joking with Dad threw a gutter ball on Sunday. And I was like, the difference between you and Larson, Dad, was you're playing down the middle. He was playing down the right? but besides that, I just think like I think 5-pinners, if you play 5 days straight, I think if you're playing hot for those 5 days, I think you'll be in all of them. 10-pinners, I think a little bit. You'll probably be there hot, but I think oil pattern makes a big difference in conditions more in 10-pin and 5-pin.
100%. I agree with you there, Tim. But I think moving from house to house, some players play really well at Bonnie Doon. Do they play so well at St. Albert?
But you're good players, like the players who are members on tour, I think can play on any one of those houses as well. Yeah. That's me personally. Yeah,
some of them, if you give 3 tries, will make it every time. But I'm saying this is one go at every house. Yeah. I think you'll see a lot more discrepancy than I think you're looking at. But you could be completely right too.
You're right, but I'm just looking at what I've looked in the past, maybe with Edmonton Opens and playing the different centers here. And who plays well in what center. Adam and Dexter probably attest a little bit. Usually the same characters and with a couple difference. I think Bonnie just skews it for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think changes things up there.
Just use your Open as a reference this year. You had players that were up there for the first day, and you had players that fell out, and you had players that were out. They climbed their way in. So you already have discrepancy just in 9 slots. Could you imagine that with 100 players and 16 slots to play for? I think you would see a lot of bouncing around. I really do.
Yeah, I still think the usual characters should still be up there.
Well, the best players should be there.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's, I mean, from day to day, different players are going to play better on certain days than others. You know, you go along for so long, and then all of a sudden you find your rhythm, and you're good for, 6-8 games type thing. You know, regardless of what house you're at, if you're throwing well, if you're executing, you can pretty much score anywhere. And I mean, I don't know many people that throw the same ball all the time, every time. So if they're working with what they've got on that certain day, and when they're playing well and executing well, they're going to score it regardless of what center. And that's why the same players make the cut so often, is because they can execute on any given surface.
True enough.
Amen.
Yeah, that's what we're striving for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. To find that. I would limit the field too. I don't know how many people could play where we're at with our game. How many people could play that many days in a row and be, by the end? I mean, even if you look at by the time you get done Calgary, by the time you play 8 in the morning, then 15 at night. I mean, that's a grind.
Yeah, that's a full day.
Yeah. And then you do that 2 days in a row type thing, or 3 days out of 4 or something.
Yeah, and I think that's why at the World Series of Bowling, it's like only a 10-game qualifier, right? At their normal tournaments, it's 21 games, right? It's quite a bit bigger qualifying. So I think that's why they limit the days to a certain amount of games, so you don't get that rollover day-to-day stuff going on.
Yeah.
Because we all know, we've all been there. You've played up to 30, 36 games in a day to win a tournament. By the end of it, you're done. But that's essentially 4 days out on the PBA tour, right?
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, they're professional athletes, and they've been throwing 100, 200 balls a day for how many?
Oh yeah.
For most of their lives, right? Yeah.
True enough. That was just a thought. Because obviously everybody talks about travel expenses, accommodations, how everything's so expensive to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And an entry shift into a tournament is, for most people, is only $200 now. It's quite the difference than it was 20 years ago. $200 really isn't. That's some people's cell phone bills for a month.
Yeah.
So for you to say $200 isn't that much. So if you saved up for a full year to get ready for this week-long or week-and-a-half-long event, it's going to cost me $1,200 worth of entry fees to play this tournament. I spread an Airbnb between 6 friends. It's probably cheaper to do something like that than it is to tour the country on a physical tour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate where we're at, because they're
driving
close
distance,
for us, so our travel expenses are pretty minimal compared to people that are willing to make that trip all the way up.
Yeah, it just kind of hit me. I thought it'd be kind of neat. Obviously the tour is doing really well. It's not like we would have to look at doing a week-long event instead of the tour, but it might be something that in the future, it might be an event added to the tour, that this is the Tour Championships. There's 3 titles to be held this week, and the Tour Finals are this week, and you can get in by playing throughout this 3-tournament qualifier or something like that.
Yeah.
Might be something.
Yeah.
When you look at the participation in Regina this year, I mean, they could almost start on a Wednesday, and just to accommodate all of the interest that they've got, right? And I mean, you're stretching that out to 5 days already, the way it's going.
Yeah, exactly. They almost are becoming week-long events just in themselves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That was kind of the idea of it, though, right? Especially, some of these other events, including the autumn last year, right? Adding that extra doubles event, you're trying to make it into an event.
Yep.
right? So at least 4 days of actual tournament play, and who knows, maybe there's like a pro-am or something that's going to start jumping in on a Wednesday, or just see how far this thing goes, right?
Yeah. Well, we've got like 3 events going on. You got the trios, the Bakers, you've got the team events and that, and the actual event. So people are coming out and they're participating in not just the one event, but 2 or 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think it'll ever get to a point where people start bypassing some of the side events to focus on the main?
Yes.
I'm already considering not playing Friday nights anymore.
Yeah.
Just because they're going till 3 a.m. and then you're trying to, stay fresh for the main event.
Looks like you're looking for a new teammate in Red Deer, Dex.
# loyalty.
No, next year. No.
To be honest with you, and I know Warren is probably listening. So Warren, this is not a shot towards you. I have my reservations about the trios on Thursday. Just at the length of it for me, yeah. But I wouldn't skip it until Karie wanted to. But good cover. But it just how the format is. For me personally, not speak on anybody else. I feel like if you are in a constellation, it's unless you want to play 4 more games to try to make some money back, it's a long time for that. I also find, honestly, when I play the Invitational, and if I am lucky to move on to the next round, even playing another 9 games that day, it actually does, sort of affect Friday some days if you're tired and whatnot from the effect of that. And I know you're right, Adam, the 3 a.m.s. I know Heritage and us, we have an issue with it. I think Heritage is an easier fix, the same as ours. Well, I just don't think you do the step ladder in Heritage. They cut down the time on that one, and I think for us, like we already talked about, we're cutting the game off for sure for the doubles. So there's no way we can. That's an extra hour, right? And hopefully that. But I agree with you on it. It's tough, but when there's money to be had, like $1,000 for first place for doubles, it's sometimes
$1,500 each. $1,500 each.
So it's kind of tough that way. But I have thought about actually. Wasn't really interested in playing Red Deer Bakers either because of the length of it, Adam, right? And because I might have a possibility of playing Saturday morning, but I was asked and I said yes. So,
but this is
I can see it being that way.
Now we have the Friday morning shifts, and we have the Thursday afternoon shift for us, or Thursday morning shift for us. This is where that comes into play, because that's why I play the Friday. Because if I play the Friday shifts and I play well and I qualify, I have no problem playing the Friday night, because I could sleep the next day if I need to.
Yeah, I think this comes down to personal preference. I don't think the events need to be backed off. They're there. They're doing well. Unless the proprietor really is having a problem running the event that late, then yes, I can see it being an issue. But if the players are willing to, and they always fill, there should be no issue. It, like Adam was saying, a person may not want to play in those because they're getting prepared for the next day or something like that. I can definitely see that being the way that some people will go, and I agree with Adam. I think you'll see players that say, you know what, I'm not going to play that because it goes too late and I have to play Saturday morning. But it's still going to fill. I don't think you're going to see enough players say, you know what, no, I'm going to get ready for Saturday morning. They're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to go play with the guys I'm playing with. Maybe we'll win some extra cash. I'll play Saturday afternoon. Yeah,
and you're exactly right, because, I mean, we get to see all of our friends from around the country, people you don't get to see very often. And that Friday night is really the night to hang out and see people and whatnot. So
I think the key is to get those shifts started on time.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years, Greg. I'm still having problems with that.
I know, and that is the problem, and I get it. I mean, somehow or another, maybe it's a 8:30 start or 8 o'clock start or whatever. I don't know, but somehow we need to get started earlier to prevent that. I mean, they're starting an hour late, and even Red Deer, I know it takes a long time from the time the games are done to when you start again. There's 5 minutes by the time everything gets processed and start up again. And I mean,
45 minutes
times 20 games, there's 100 minutes. There's an hour and a half of where you're just sitting around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just let them keep playing. Let them keep playing. But it's because of the buys, I think, that are the issue, right? Because they did build it back in.
And I think I'm not sure if it's the computer system where you can't start the next one till they're all done. I don't know. But it just seems like we're waiting till everyone's done, and then all of a sudden we start everyone back up again where you could keep going. And the buys make a big difference because, then you got to find people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know where to find them.
Hey, if the proprietor is looking to offset costs, I'm all for it. If they need buys, they need buys. If players don't like it, they just won't play in it, but it'll still fill. So it's a personal preference. I think it comes down to the end.
Agreed.
So Greg, we might as well ask our special guest some special questions.
Sure.
So who's your bowling mentor growing up there?
So I followed, like Don Sim was quite a strong player in Calgary. I grew up in Calgary, bowled in Calgary, and Don Sim was one of those guys that just easy to talk to, easy to get along with, and always seemed to play really well. He was one of those guys. The two Ellard boys, Barry and Larry, same thing. Just strong players. And what I liked about them is they weren't at that time. I mean, the game was a little different, so there wasn't as much hard throwers. So it was all about the execution and smooth delivery and that type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. It was only till Tom Anderson came from Thunder Bay, moved to Calgary, that he just kind of threw a whole wrench in everything in Calgary when he showed up and started hucking it from out to the arrows and stuff. It just blew everyone away. Nobody'd seen anyone throw the ball like that. But, yeah. I started, I took it up. I started kind of late. I only bowled 1 year of YBC, and then just started getting into bowling after that. So there was a few of those players that were, strong players, seemed to make the team all the time. Dave Lewis was one of them. Just seemed to be a very good, solid players and just really good people.
Right. So why did you get into bowling so late? Were you in other sports or?
No, I just never really got the opportunity. It was my next door neighbor, a friend of mine across the street, that had one of those bring a buddies. He said, "Do you want to go bowling? I need to bring a buddy." And I said, "Sure." So I went and bowled, and I just really truly enjoyed it. I did in junior high school, we had house leagues, and one of the house league sports was bowling, and I think I won the high single for grade 7 bowler was a 203. So I got a trophy for that. So that was a big deal back then.
Was it right-handed or left-handed?
That was right-handed.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
So, our next question, I'm just gonna guess it might be the Heartland Bowl no tap tournament, but if people didn't know, Greg shot 25-80 on the weekend at Heartland Bowl. It was no tap, but apparently he was crushing the middle. So he clearly won that tournament, and I think you tied for the handicap side as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Unreal bowling.
Yeah.
Tied with Michelle Manton for 27-01.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always heard it's a slow ball house, so that makes sense.
Well, Greg was probably playing left-handed, so that makes a lot of sense.
Why don't you play better, Tim?
You guys have always gotten in a groove, and it was just one of those events where it felt really good. I had gone practicing in the afternoon, and I'd been throwing the ball, and it was feeling okay. And then they turned the glow bowl lights on, and I thought, well, I'll just throw some more balls. And I stopped focusing so much on where I was throwing the ball and just throwing it. And all of a sudden, it just felt really good. And I thought, that's what I need to do. I need to just release the ball and just let it go and trust what I was doing. And of course, in a no-tap tournament, it's even easier because you're just freewheeling because there's no tap, right? Anything on the side and you've got a good chance of getting it. And I was able to just kind of do that for, the evening. And it just was, it just felt really good. And I just hope I can get that feeling again sometime.
See, I didn't get that memo because I finally got my first no tap in Game 7, Frame 1. So they clearly didn't tell me about it. And I still played all right. So
yeah. You played very well for 2 no taps.
Yeah. So what is your favorite tournament?
It's been Chinook. I've always liked that format of the 8 games in the morning and then the 15 games of match play afterwards. I just like the idea of the round robin. I like the idea of the 50-point bonus system. I like the idea that if you play well in the morning and just so happen that someone doesn't play better than you as far as a knockout, you shoot 900 and the other guy shoots 920, and then all of a sudden you're out of the event, but you're not getting rewarded for your good play. So I've always liked the Calgary tournament, and then I think that's part of why the Red Deer tournament's format is the way it is. When we came up with a format for that one, we basically bastardized the Calgary one and tried to do similar things from it.
Yeah, for sure. So for some of our younger listeners, Greg had mentioned Chinook. The Autumn Open used to be played in Chinook Bolodrome in Calgary. So
first 25 years.
Yeah. And then it moved to Toppler Bowl, and then it moved to Paradise Lanes, where it now resides.
Yeah. Nice that they kept that format too.
Yeah.
I think it's a popular one.
I think that's a lot of the committees doing. The committees kind of moved along with the tournament, and they really pushed to keep that format the same.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that variety of formats as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And no consolation.
Well, there is, but
for 40th.
Yeah. Just for cash.
I'm a firm believer in you make 32 and it's 32.
Me too, my friend. Me too.
Does that happen to be Greg because you happen to be 32nd a couple times?
I don't know if that has something to do with it or not. I've always felt more that way after it's happened, but I do. I think you go in the event, you say, okay, I want to make the top 32, and that's what it is. And then the consolation is the consolation.
Yeah, I just go into the tournament and just hope to make the top 31 now.
Yeah.
The Wolfson.
Yeah.
So do you have a toughest match or a favorite match of your career?
Well, I mean, I've had an opportunity to play Bruce a few times, and I mean, when you're playing, one of the better players in the game, it's always fun to play them because you're going to have to play well to play them. I've had to play against my wife once, and that wasn't any fun. So that was probably the toughest match I've ever played. It was against my wife. And
Who
she
won?
By the way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Yeah. I never had to play against my son. That would be interesting if you had to play against your son or a daughter or something in a match play event. But anytime when you're playing well, you always want to play against the best to put your game up against the best players. And I mean, but any really good player at any given time may not play well that match too. So you just you'll take every opportunity against every player every time you get it, and you hope they're not playing stellar because you want to have a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what's in your arsenal? What bowling balls? What bowling shoes?
I just bought new shoes this year, which are the Dexter Retros. The ones, I think they're called the SST ones.
Yeah.
The Retros.
They're just called the Retros. Yeah.
I just bought a pair of those this year. I had the Dexter, I think 6s before, and I had old Bowl Masters before that. But I even had the shoes that used to have the little round Velcro plugs in the bottom.
The Linds.
Yeah. First ones that you could actually interchange the slides and stuff on them. So, but That, and then I play a soft roll, 4 7/8, 3/8 soft roll, and I generally play that ball everywhere. I hardly ever change balls. More times than not, I contribute it to how I'm throwing the ball and not the ball itself. And maybe that's old school, or maybe it's just pure ignorance, or I'm not sure. But I've just always played the one set, and I very rarely do I change bowling balls. I change lines, but not balls.
Me and Dexter will just chalk that up to ignorance, because there's 3 of you on this podcast that have the same thought process. So.
Everybody has different thought processes, and it depends on the kind of shot you throw. I mean, Giggy, you throw a pretty end over end shot, right? And so that eliminates a lot. Whereas if somebody's got tons of rotation, then a ball change is a little bit more helpful at times if you lose a control or whatnot. But for you, if you can get it rolling with those soft rolls, you're golden.
Yeah, I just like the feel in my hand, and just being able to throw just how it feels.
Yeah. 39 national championships. I'm going to stick with Greg's suggestion there. So.
National appearances. He only has 9 championships.
Only
9.
Yeah.
So
still going. I'm hoping it's still going.
Yeah, for sure. So that leads me to my next question. Do you have a bucket list item that you still want to accomplish in the game?
I mean, for as long as I've been playing the game, I've never won a major event as far as a cash event. So, I mean, if God willing and the stars lined up and I had an opportunity to win one of the events, that would be. I think I could almost say, okay, I might hang them up after that, but I wouldn't. I'm sure I wouldn't. If I ever got into that position.
Yeah, you don't break your wrist to learn how to bowl left-handed just to quit after winning a tournament. Like that's just not in you. No.
Yeah. No, it would be nice. That would be wonderful to have that opportunity. So.
Perfect. And then one last question. Adam brought this up a few podcasts ago. If you were to pick anybody in the history of bowling, now, past, who would it be to play a match against?
That's an excellent question. Absolutely. No, I'd love to play a full match against a Stan Black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because, legendary who he was, the games he played, that type of thing, and just to play a whole match against him would be, I think it'd be quite something.
Awesome.
Could be quite a roller coaster.
Yes.
All emotions, all mind games, like you name it.
Yeah, he
Very
did
old
it
school.
all.
Yeah.
He did it all.
Because if something wasn't working, he would just try something else.
Yeah.
It was almost the bowling was almost irrelevant. Is what I was hearing. So.
Yeah, it was all part of the whole parcel, right? Yeah, the whole package. Just okay. Well, if I can't beat him with my ability, I'm gonna have to find another way to beat him. Yeah. I'm not sure how I'd fare, but I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if he starts getting into your head, you just switch left-handed and you just throw him for a loop. So it's all good. So I guess we'll move on to the part where the rest of the country kind of tunes out and doesn't pay attention to our podcast. But Alberta Masters is this coming weekend.
Yes.
So I guess what are guys' thoughts? I know 3 of the guys on the podcast are sitting pretty good. They just need to show up. At Bonnie Doon, you just really got to show up and throw a couple balls down the middle and you'll be shooting 2,200. So how do you feel about this coming weekend, guys?
Well, there's more people playing than I anticipated. I think we started out the season with 39, 38 players, 39, maybe 40 overall for the tournament division. And we have 34 playing this weekend still. Which I'm a little surprised about, but I think it's great. The support is definitely there. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that it is playing at Bonnie Doon and Sherwood Park the last two. Both houses can definitely score. So I mean, there's people that and then we had our central set where one person, for the Min anyways, one person out of everybody has one keeper from that weekend. So
hey, I got a keeper out of that weekend. I'm
not counting a 1950 counting as a
I
counting.
shot 2050 at Red Deer. Thank you very much. That's
right.
a keeper.
So our definitions of keepers are a little bit different.
That's my highest tournament out of the 4. It has to be a keeper. So I don't understand your definition.
My bad.
I think Wolfson winning back-to-back and getting 2 25-pointers are two huge for him too.
Yeah,
he's the guy for sure. I mean, he's definitely keeping the singles points, but he won the first tournament in 2020, right? Yep. That doesn't help him towards the pinfall for the team. That helps him towards singles points for sure, but pinfall towards the team his 2100 on Sunday, that he'll keep that one for sure.
Big. Yeah,
that's really big. Yeah. But it should be interesting. There should be lots of good scores. I know we do have some people that best two are sitting at 40, just over 4,000 or 4,100, and lots of people are them playing because you can definitely shoot a 23-23 and then put yourself onto a team. So there should be some big swings maybe, but we'll see.
Might see some players drop out after Saturday as well.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you think the first tournament being at Bonnie Doon has a little bit since the Alberta Open is going to be there? That's why some of the players are coming up and playing anyways?
Maybe 2 or 3, 4, maybe.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It doesn't hurt, but I don't. Based on the people that I'm looking at it, I don't really think so. They're just gamers.
Yeah, they're there to support the Masters. Support you guys going to nationals, right?
Well, the two of them are sitting pretty good. I still have to have at least a decent tournament somewhere in there, but yeah.
You mean a mediocre Bonnie Doon tournament?
Yeah, one of those.
I already did one of those. Don't do that. You missed the Open team.
Yeah.
Also, the seniors and the teaching masters also have their provincial finals this weekend, so those teams will be decided, obviously. Greg, I know you happen to be going to Palm Springs, but are you putting your name into coach, or?
I am.
You are.
For the senior division.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the one?
I never thought of the tournament division. I was only thinking of the senior division.
Wow, are we not friends?
Well, you guys have some good coaches, some good people putting their names in for coaches, and you've got a good rapport with lots of those.
Greg, on that Open Gold list and Open Masters list, I do believe you had 3 coaching golds, so you may have something to do with it.
Yeah,
Greg,
really
I have
teams.
never had an opportunity to have you coach or be on a team or anything like that. And really, Masters is the only chance that we have for that.
You don't have to listen to his violin, Greg. If you don't want to coach them, you don't have to.
The closest thing I've had for you as being a teammate was Tough Mudder.
That was an experience.
Oh well, we lived.
Apparently.
I was concerned about you for a while.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. But
I thought we were going to actually do some running in that.
Oh yeah, no. My body was shut down. There was no running on that thing. Yeah. Or running up the hills where it was like a treadmill because you couldn't get traction.
For the mud.
But yeah, no, you should consider throwing a name in Sutherland.
Okay, thank you.
Just a thought.
Yep. Excellent.
I don't know. Me and Karie had one opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank God I got another one at the Open where Greg finally's coaching came through. It really.
Well, we had 3 of the top 5 averages in the tournament in Hamilton.
Yeah.
For 4th.
For it. Yeah.
Oh,
That's the tough
It's
thing.
pretty
About,
good.
that's the tough thing about Masters, right?
it was close. I think going into the final match, we take 7, we win gold. We took 2 and came 4th.
Yeah. Exactly.
Crazy swing.
That was one of the closer years than I've ever seen at the Masters. Typically, 2 teams will run away with it, but that year there were 4 teams right in tight.
Yeah, that was a crazy finish. All I remember is I think I was leading off that team. I was playing against Jeff Young that final match, and he shot 360 to my 330. And I can't believe I keep having him on the podcast. That guy's a jerk.
So it was your fault?
Yeah, clearly my 330 wasn't good enough for the team.
Yeah, way to be a leader.
That was bad coaching. I didn't put the lineup in right.
Did you take your point?
No.
Hey, we needed points.
Yeah, we needed 7 of them. Mine was a loss, clearly. What happened to the rest of you?
I don't know. I probably lost too.
Yeah. So do we have time for one last topic? Does anybody got anything?
Well, I got a couple additional questions for Mr. Giggy here.
Perfect.
Because we had Bruce on a little while back too. We asked him his experience with the Gallagher Cup and the captaincy and all that. And so I wanted to get your take on that whole experience, and as well as being a commentator or guest commentator a few times there for the Tour Championship.
Yeah, it's just an honor for me personally to be involved in the game to that extent, and coaching, being involved with you guys, because I'm not competitive like I used to be involved and just to share those experiences with you guys. I get such a charge out of that. The commentary, I mean, it's just fun. I mean, it's, for me, I'm just trying to keep Gino from talking about Gino and okay, oh, by the way, the 3 frames went by, we should talk about the match here. But it's fun to be part of anything to do with bowling at this point in my life. I mean, the Gallagher's Cup, I love the idea of it. I love the fact that people would come out from Winnipeg just to participate in that. I think that says a lot for what it meant to them to just have an invite to come out and participate. And I think everybody felt really welcome with the way you guys set up the games and that type of stuff. And I know that was the first time at it, and you've probably already got some things in the works to change it up a bit and that type of thing. But yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it says so much for what you guys are doing with this the tour and getting the bowlers involved in what's happening in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've probably said it a million times, it's adding something to the sport, or back to the bowler, something different, something that's not monotonous, and adding, like, players across Canada can all of a sudden play on a team together that would never have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that was the main point of it, because Sean Langlois playing, Johnny McDonald, like, these guys, there's no chance they would ever play on a team or anything like that together. So it was pretty cool to get that experience.
Yeah, and the fact that we won probably helped.
Yeah.
Yep.
Champs.
You better believe it.
Tim, I whooped you. I don't even talk anymore. Let's move on.
You know what? Greg was a very positive coach. He was really good for us.
You needed the positivity. Everyone's looking around at you in your skin tight shirt. You needed all the positivity you could get.
Hey, Greg, what kind of went through your mind during the whole selection process and putting matches together and stuff like that? Or was it a formal process? Was it just have some fun? Like what was the whole background of it?
I think the way, when I looked at it, it was basically get as many bowlers involved, so that as many of the bowlers are playing as much as possible, and then have a little fun with the Tim and Dexter against the 2 Tigett boys. That was kind of just for a simple fun event of that nature and that. But it was just more, who, again, I used kind of the way I coach. who bowls well with each other, who I think would feed off each other, and that type of thing, and then just make sure that everyone got an opportunity to get in and play and show what they could do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hence why you put Tim up against me, right?
Yeah.
I got lucky at the end.
Yeah, tough break, kid.
Yeah.
I took a buck off my nemesis. I'm happy.
Yeah, Mr. Baird. Yeah.
It was nice to see that people come out and watch as well.
Yeah, there was a good
people
crowd.
are getting a lot out of that.
It was good to have the colonel there to hand out the trophy at the end too. So
Yeah, and what an honor for him, right? To have that named after him. There's like I said, one gentleman that does so much for the game. A lot of it is in the background, but does a lot for the game and just really, truly loves it. Right?
yeah, he's
Around for a long time.
like I said, probably said a million times. That's the gentleman. He led me down some dark paths, but he's definitely the man that left me with the best image for bowling for sure. He was all about it, and obviously still to this day still supporting the tour, even though his center is not big enough to host any part of it. And then he has his annual Heartland Bowl tournament that a lot of us try to attend to help support him. One of the best people in bowling for sure.
Well, and you know what? I honestly like the fact that we've moved the Stettlers and the Olds into the rotation for the Masters, for the Tour Masters. I know he loves the idea of having the Tournament Masters come out and play in his center.
Yep.
And we did the Central Open that way too this year, and he definitely enjoyed having one day of the whole Open out there. Even though it was a long day, he still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, and he was so stressed out before it too.
Yeah.
I had talked to him on the phone twice a day for a week before that because he had one machine that was all acting up on him. So at least I'm glad it went well for him.
Yeah, without a hitch.
It's nice to, like I said, give those proprietors those opportunities for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other topics? We got a couple minutes.
What do you miss about the competitive scene, Greg?
What's that?
What do you miss most about the uber competitive scene?
Just being involved in it. I mean, the thrill of the hunt, right? The being 6 games into an 8-game qualifier and know you need to shoot 530 and that type of thing. It's just the drive that it gets, where you have to really buckle down and just really bear down for those last. It could be 3 frames or it could be the last 8, 10, 10 type frames. I miss that. I miss because I've got 1800 by then or I've got 1600 by then. I'm not really going to be, I need a mere miracle type thing. So I would like to have the consistency that I once had, which as I contribute that to getting older, but it's as much a mental thing as it is anything else too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm getting there too.
Yeah.
It just becomes tougher and tougher every single year, right?
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. Well, and you have to really want it, right? You have to say, okay, I've got to figure out a way of doing this. And when you've been doing it for a long time and you're not having much success, it's hard to get up to do what you think you need to do to get to that point, right?
Oh, Greg, you got him wrong. He's on the top of the sport, and he's getting sick and tired of it.
Yeah,
It gets old after a while if you keep winning.
No. No. I get sick and tired of league. That's it. No. It becomes a tougher grind. You got to find new and kind of proactive ways to try to stay either relevant or stay near, at least near the top of your game, because the consistency factor will not be the same year over year. But you do have to find other ways, right? So, and a lot of it's mental.
Absolutely.
Quite frankly. So, you can do little minor tweaks here or there. You can change a ball if you need to. You can do all those little things, but you got to find a way to just stay, eight or 9 out of 10 on the middle rather than 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Right? Like you got to find that way to get that extra shot a game just to stay up there.
Yeah, and I mean sometimes it's just that one more shot on the side of the head pin, right? As compared to head pin and that type of thing, right? One a game, and it makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Greg, we couldn't thank you enough for joining us. I hope you have fun down in Palm Springs. Don't get bitten by too many mosquitoes and stay away from the coronavirus.
Absolutely.
Unless you got a little lime.
Yeah.
Get some lime down there.
Yeah. Good luck this weekend, all you guys, in the Masters.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I expect your email.
And thanks. Thanks for inviting me to take part in this. I really enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure chatting with you, buddy.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks a ton, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.